Hey, folks, imagine this: a convicted felon, deported 4 times, walks free in your neighborhood because local jails ignored a federal request to hold him. Then, he's accused of murder. This isn't a movie, it's happening in Washington and Oregon under so-called sanctuary laws. How does it feel to know that policies meant to protect could be putting your family at risk? I'm Bong Sim, and today, we're diving into the heated debate over sanctuary laws, public safety, and moral responsibility. Stick with me, this one hits close to home.
Hi, this pertains to the state's sanctuary laws. Both Washington and Oregon do not comply with ICE detainers. This means that illegal immigrants charged with serious crimes including child rape and attempted murder are released back into the community to reoffend instead of being transferred into ICE custody. Do you defend this policy? And 2, if an illegal alien goes on to reoffend because of this policy, do you take any responsibility?
So first and foremost, thank you for your question. This is type of that disagreement that you were just suggesting. My job is to defend Washington state law. Washington state law has a law called the Keep Washington Working Act that puts some limitations on how local law enforcement can cooperate with federal criminal or civil immigration enforcement. Law enforcement here is not prohibited from cooperating on criminal matters, but they are not in the business, according to our state law, of cooperating on civil immigration enforcement. If the law was different, I would defend that law. In Washington state, my job is to defend that law because it is the law that was passed by your representatives. And for the reasons that we talked about earlier, this is a law that enhances public safety in my view, that it allows for people to feel safe in cooperating with law enforcement on criminal matters, that it makes people not fearful when they go to school, that when they drop off their children, they're not going to see their children again. And I will continue to defend that law because it is the oath of office that I took, and because I think it is sound policy moving forward.
And what about you?
I think one thing that's there, and I won't speak for my 2 colleagues, but I do think that most people feel the same way. If you've committed a state law crime, you're not above the law, right? And you're going to be held accountable. And I think the fact patterns we were talking about a state law crime that someone had committed in Oregon. If you commit a crime, you are going to be held accountable.
Do you guys see any problem with it, though, releasing them back instead of just transferring to ICE?
Well, I think your frame of the facts isn't actually 100% accurate, but we're happy to
Okay.
Let's lay it out. Sanctuary laws in Washington and Oregon stop local police and jails from cooperating with ICE, Immigration and Customs Enforcement, on civil immigration matters, like deporting people here illegally. These states say it's about trust. Immigrants should feel safe reporting crimes without fear of deportation. Sounds noble, right? But here's the gut punch. These laws also mean that some folks with serious criminal records, think child rape, attempted murder, are released back into communities instead of being handed to ICE for deportation. Take Washington. From 2015 to 2025, over 700 people with ICE detainers were let go. One case? Rosalio Ramos-Ramos, deported 4 times, released from a hospital, and later accused of killing his cousin. In Oregon, Martin Gallo-Gallardo was freed despite ICE's interest and allegedly murdered his wife. These aren't hypotheticals, these are real families shattered, real lives lost. Critics, including folks like me, see a glaring problem. When local jails ignore ICE detainers, dangerous individuals can slip through the cracks. And that's not just a policy failure, it's a betrayal of public trust. This is about accountability and the rule of law. We believe in personal responsibility. Nobody gets a free pass to break the law, especially not repeatedly. If you're here illegally and commit a serious crime, why should you be shielded from federal consequences? Sanctuary laws create a loophole that undermines justice. Local sheriffs and jails aren't just ignoring ICE, they're defying a system meant to protect citizens. The 10th Amendment gives states rights, sure, but it doesn't mean they can cherry-pick which federal laws to respect when lives are on the line. We also value traditional institutions like law enforcement. When states like Washington and Oregon tie the hands of sheriffs, it erodes trust in those who keep us safe. A 2024 Cascade PBS poll showed over 50% of Washingtonians want some cooperation with ICE. That's not a fringe view, it's common sense. People want to know their streets are safe, not a revolving door for criminals. And let's be clear, this isn't about hating immigrants. It's about ensuring that those who harm our communities face consequences, regardless of status. Now, let's be fair. Supporters like Washington AG Nick Brown and Oregon AG Dan Rayfield argue these laws make communities safer. Their point? If immigrants fear deportation, they won't report crimes or cooperate with police. Brown says the Keep Washington Working Act builds trust, letting people go to school or drop off their kids without fear. Rayfield insists that criminals are still held accountable under state law. They've got a point, trust in police is critical, and nobody wants victims too scared to come forward. But here's where it falls apart, the data doesn't fully back them up. A 2020 National Academy of Sciences study found sanctuary policies don't increase crime rates, but they also don't stop deportations of violent offenders. So, the trust argument feels shaky when you've got cases like Francisco Carranza-Ramirez, released after a rape conviction, only to allegedly attack his victim again. Trust is important, but not at the cost of letting predators roam free. Here's where I stand, public safety comes first. Sanctuary laws, as they're written, prioritize ideology over accountability. When someone commits a serious crime, their immigration status shouldn't shield them from federal consequences. It's not about xenophobia, it's about fairness. If you or I broke the law, we'd face the music. Why should it be different for someone here illegally? Every time a criminal is released because of these policies, it's a slap in the face to victims and a risk to every family in our communities. We need a system that balances compassion with justice. Let's protect law-abiding immigrants while ensuring those who harm us are removed. Washington and Oregon can lead by reforming these laws to allow ICE detainers for serious criminals. That's not hate, it's moral clarity. So, what do you think? Should sanctuary laws protect everyone, even those who've committed heinous crimes? Or do we owe it to our communities to prioritize safety over politics? Drop your thoughts in the comments, I read every single one. If this hits home, share this video with someone who needs to hear it. And don't forget to subscribe, we're diving into the issues that matter, every week. Let's keep this conversation going.